And we are live. Oh shit. Oh shit. Here we are. I hope this is on YouTube. If not, we are just talking into the ether, Maxine.
Okay, well, it says live and there's a countdown, so I'm hoping it's working too.
I
What's
really I
up?
really hope there is. I know it was the same countdown to Bad Baby's 18th birthday for some people. She's the catch me outside girl. I know I have to update you and all that.
Oh
Some weird
yeah,
shit.
update me.
Yeah. So Maxine, this has been a minute since we've done this. We are
I
currently
know.
being powered by StreamYard. Thank you to StreamYard for their free plans. We were trying to do some other shit, and I've been learning about the virtual background, but that was a bit of a clusterfuck. So I think we're gonna be okay. Whatever. Apparently, you can't swear in the first 2 minutes of YouTube videos because you get demonetized. But I wasn't monetized in the first place, so haha.
Yeah, me neither.
So yeah, so it has been a hot minute since Maxine and I have done this. Looking lovely as always.
Same to you.
You and I have both had some things happening in our lives for the past 7 months.
Yeah,
You know, because
yeah.
7 months is a long time. So we were talking off air a little bit because I have an idea for a web series. I'm thinking of when I do the reels on my Instagram, because that's, I guess it's all the rage now, doing fucking reels and like the short clips because nobody has an attention span anymore. So I'm thinking of calling my web series Wheelz with a Z on Reels. And then I have like, I'm not going to spoil too much, guys, but basically my idea is that I would be like, the idea is like you give me objects and I would try to pick them up. And Maxine was telling me basically what she was like as a kid and all the weird fucking games she played. So I'm just gonna let her segue into like some of the stuff.
Well,
But did you have any imaginary friends? Because all those stories sounds like a child that had imaginary friends.
no, I didn't have an imaginary friend, but I lived in an imaginary world half of the time, and I was a big daydreamer. So in my head, I used to daydream that I was a different person. I had a different house and I had a different family and I was totally different life. So like for example, when I was about I think 10 years old, I used to really like Corey Hart. You remember the singer in the
A little
80s?
before my time. Yeah, a
Okay,
little
Never
before my time.
Surrender. I wear my sunglasses at night, right? So I had a huge crush on him, as well as I had a big crush on the singer of Platinum Blonde, Mark Holmes. He's another Canadian singer. And so in my head, I was I mean, I was too young to actually have relations, like fantasies with them. So I used to pretend that Corey Hart was my brother in my fantasy and he was good friends with Mark Holmes from Platinum Blonde, and because I lived in this big mansion. It was like nobody was there except for me, and every once in a while, Corey Hart would come as my brother, and then Platinum Blonde, like the guy from Platinum Blonde, like he'd hang out with me, and I'd be like lying by the pool, and he'd talk to me, and sometimes I would go on a stage and sing. Like I couldn't sing, but in my head, I could sing in my fantasy, and
Of
I
course,
totally
of
looked
course.
different. Like I had blonde hair. I had a thing for wanting to be a blonde. So I was had blonde hair in my fantasy and I just totally like lived in this world for a bit. And it got to a point when I got to I think I was in grade 8, grade 7. No. So I had this fantasy when I was a kid, but when I got to about grade 6 and 7, I said to myself, I should stop like fantasizing and living in this dream world because I started getting mixed up with my real life and who I really was. Because I almost wanted to introduce myself as somebody else and say that my life was this fantasy in my head. And I thought that could be dangerous. So I decided to stop fantasizing and start daydreaming. So I didn't have an imaginary friend, but I had this fantasy world. But I also used to do funny things like my best friend came down to visit, and we were talking about what we were like when we were a kid, and I used to like want to be able to pick things up, like with the subject you were talking about. I wanted to pick things up with my feet, and I wanted to see if I could like write with my feet. I would try to write with my left hand because I'm a right hand, And I used to even go down like at nighttime, if you know, when you want to go down and get a snack or a drink and you don't want to wake up the family. And as a kid, I used to not deliberately not put on any lights. And I used to feel my way around like I was Helen Keller, I guess. But I used to feel my way, like feel the house, like feel the lamps, where the lamp was, where the night table was, how far it would take me to get to down the hallway to get to the kitchen. And I'd try to memorize and map everything by touching it to memorize my house. So I wanted survival, like I felt like it was more like survival skills. And if I ever did go blind or I had to use my feet, I wanted to know if I could do it. And then by the time I got oh, and then so I was telling my best friend that, and she said that she used to do the same thing. So I'm not the only one. But as a teenager,
I was about to ask if you grew up Catholic because I'm like, that's the only way you would go blind if you masturbate too much. So like, I
oh,
thought
I
you
hear
were just
that.
explaining.
That's an old wives' tale.
It is. It
But
is. Oh yeah. This.
yeah,
Well,
and then
I'll get to this other thing I was gonna say.
oh yeah,
But go
yeah, tell
ahead.
me.
No. Finish your story. It's very pertinent to what we're talking about.
Oh, the other thing I was telling you was, I'll just tell you this one last thing for now. Um, I was hanging out with my mom, and at the time, my stepdad, like he passed away, but when my stepdad was still alive, and I was telling them what I was like as a teenager. I was a free bird, so I was like, I totally wanted to be able to go in and out where and go wherever I wanted to go. And by the time I was like, I grew up in a bedroom where it was the end of the hall, and outside, like, say, if there was like I used to think about if somebody broke into the house, like a murderer, I would have nowhere to go at the end of the hall. If I
Oh,
opened the window, right below was a concrete stairway to the basement. I was like, I'm definitely going to die if I jump out of there. So by the time I got to grade 6, I got to move into my older brother's room when he moved out, and he had the best window because there's a rooftop, not right below, but sideways. So I used to want to sneak out of the house. So I learned how to get in and out of my window. So I used to go on my belly and hang from my windowsill and then swing my legs to the left until I touched the rooftop. Then I would push off on the windowsill, then I would be on my roof, like the side part of it was a roof over the garage, and then there was another upper bit for the regular roof. So I would swing my legs to this roof, and then I could go on my belly and I could slide down the roof, hang from the eaves trough, and then touch to this little bench that was on our back wooden patio. And then I
oh,
can go in and out of my house. And I can get in that way too, but sometimes I used to just go to my sister's bedroom in the basement and knock on the door to like knock on the window, and she'd let me in because she had the basement she had the room in the basement after our other brother left. So we both didn't like that corner room that we originally went. And then I told my mom and stepdad this story. My mom was like, I told you she was tough. She was hard to deal with.
I love how you have this whole fucking Mission Impossible escape plan of just like getting out of your house and shit. I love how just like because you were born in Cambodia. I love how like your instincts are just fucking climb out of something and fucking evade any type of conflict.
Survival. It was a survival. I felt like it was like I wanted to know I had survival skills.
Damn, that's a hell of a way to test those fucking skills.
Yeah. I was pretty wild when I was a teenager. I had a thing for cars, so I stole cars. I mean, mostly
Wait,
my
I
mom's.
didn't know this. Please tell me about this.
So I was a free bird when I was young, you know. So I started like with my mom's car when my best friend and I were 14 years old, and we used to literally put the car into neutral, push it out of our driveway when my mom would go to sleep. She wasn't sleeping. She could have caught us anytime because she was literally reading a book in bed. But as soon as she went to read a book, me and my best friend, we'd put the car into neutral and we push the car down the driveway. And then we'd get in. Not that she wouldn't hear, like right outside the driveway. Okay, the street, there's the driveway and the street. So we only pushed the car down the driveway. And then we got in, turned the ignition on, and took off around the corner. And we would take the car here and there when we were 14 years old, right? And it was so funny because it was like we were just so free. So we did that for a while. Except one time my mom, she didn't leave the keys when she was like, say she was going to Toronto. She hid the keys this time. So she hid the keys, and then my mom was also looking after our neighbor's house, and in the cars, the truck for the keys for the truck, his truck was hanging where my mom's keys. So she didn't hide my neighbor's keys. Since she was supposed to be looking at the house, so he wasn't in town. So I took his truck for a whole week, and
Wow.
I eventually I got caught, right? So I
Yeah.
drove it back and forth to school all week. And then my friends, I was friends with a bunch of guys, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go down to the Lakeshore Road in Oakville. That's where all the mansions are. So we're gonna go sneak in the backyard. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, I totally want to come. I'll drive." So I took the truck, and I took these like, oh, how many guys? There were like 3 or 4 guys, right? And we went to Lakeshore, and we snuck through this hole in the fence, and in the backyards there was all these mansions, right? And their properties were so massive, like they wouldn't see us if we were down at the end. And they had their boats docked at Lake Ontario. And so we snuck in a couple of the properties, but it was so big, like 2 properties was taking a long time. So when we were coming back, we saw this police officer, and he was writing down the license plate of the truck that my neighbor's truck. And we're like, oh shit, I'm so dead, right? And so my friends, I said, okay, I don't want you guys to get in trouble. So you guys start walking home, right? So they started walking home. And then I got in the car, and I was like, okay, the cops probably still waiting around. So I was kind of expecting it because we didn't wait that long. So I get in the car, and then he pulls me over. And I always wanted to say this in a movie. And I rolled down the window. It was a roll down the window back in the day. And I go, "What's the problem, officer?" And I just smiled, and I put on my sweetest smile. And he goes, "Whose car is this?" And I said, "It's my dad's." And he goes, "Your dad is this name, right?" And I said, "No, that's my neighbor, actually." I lied.
Oh man.
And he goes, "Well, why are you in it?" And I said, "But we're looking after his house. I didn't steal it. Like the keys are in my kitchen. We're looking after the house and the truck." And he's like, he didn't even ask me if I had a driver's license. So he knew, like, I think I was, at the time I was 15. So I only had maybe I had my learner's permit. I'm not sure. I might not even had it. But he's like, "Take the car home and don't drive it anymore." And he goes, "By the way, I have your friends in the back of the vehicle." So he picked up my friends in the back, and he goes, "I'll just drive them home to their parents." And he goes, "We had some break-ins recently. And so I just wanted to make sure that you weren't a part of it." And I was like, "No, we were just exploring." And he goes, "Okay, drive home." And so eventually I was like, for a whole week, my friend Robbie, he told me that I was going to juvie. And he's like, you're going to Slaps, which is juvie hall in Oakville. And I was like, oh my God, I was so scared I was going to go to jail, right? And then after the week, my mom came back. So my sister decided to tell my mom, and she's like, "Okay, I'll take care of it." So she tried to cover up whatever and not let anything find out that I got in trouble. But later on, he found out, and I came home from school, and he was sitting like in the living room having a serious talk with my mom. And I was like, oh shit. And so he's like, "Come here." And I went over, and he goes, "I know you're a good girl, and you're never going to do it again." And I said, "Mm-hmm." And he's like, "Give me a kiss on the cheek." And I gave him a kiss on the cheek. And then I got away with my first stealing a car. But it wasn't the last time I stole a car, though. I also
Oh my
I
god.
also had my aunt's car, and I drove that back and forth for a while. And then when I first moved to Toronto, I was with I'm not going to fully admit this story because I don't want to incriminate myself, but I was
Statute
with
of
I
limitations.
was with
How
a
long ago
bad
was this?
guy.
How
I was
fucking
with
long ago
kind of
was
a
this?
what's that?
I said the statute of limitations. So like, how long was this?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
How long
well, we'll
was it?
see. Well, he wasn't a mean guy. He was just a like basically a criminal. So me and my friend were hanging out with him, and we wanted to hop the train from Toronto to Oakville to like just go back. We didn't have any money and we didn't have any food. So we wanted to go and get some groceries at his house. So we were going to go back to his parents' house. And I wasn't talking to my parents, so I didn't have any of that option. So we were going to hop the train. And then this criminal friend we were hanging out with, he boosted a car. And he's like, get in. And we got in the car. We're like, oh my God. And it was like the guy had his car running outside of like a church, which was like probably gave me a bad karma for several years. And he had like his whole life in there. Like I felt bad later on because he had everything in there that he's probably like, an immigrant who just like got here and all his belongings and all. Anyways, he shouldn't have let this car run. But so, anyways, we drove all the way back to Oakville. The guy said, I'll get rid of the car. So he left it at some train station or something. And then we were scot free on that. And that was the last time I did anything criminal. I was a good girl after that. Not really. I became a stripper. And then, like,
I mean, who knew that stealing cars was the gateway drug to being a stripper? I never would have put those two together.
Well, first I was a raver. I was a raver and I was partying, doing ecstasy every weekend. And then after my raving days, I got bored of the raving days, and then I became a stripper, and then I wasn't a raver. And then I did that for like 8 months, and then I went back to being into the restaurant business where I was just like working at like as a hostess or a bus girl. Eventually I met Scott doing that, being a bus girl and a room service girl. So we got married.
I love how like I've known you for like 10 years and I'm still finding out stories. Like most people have like 2 or 3 good stories. You got like 50.
I have a lot of adventures, like because when I was young, I was a free bird. I was always a free bird.
That's gonna be the name of the episode. I was always a free bird. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite song too. It's one of my very favorite songs from Leonard Skinner, Freebird. It's my very favorite song, and it was released the year I was born too.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's coincidence, but it's a good one.
By the way, but sorry to cut you off. This is how much my ADD is going crazy. Every time like I turn my shoulder a bit to the right, if you'll see like, because we're fucking around with this virtual background on StreamYard, which I've just started to figure out because I'm bad at social media, as my lady tells me. I'm really bad at a lot of things, but so I decided let's just put the background up here for the virtual background. I have an African art piece, which like you've been to my place, so I have like that art piece of that woman. Like,
yeah, it's cool.
So if you notice, like I fucking move my other shoulder, and like it blocks the thing, but it looks like underneath my nose I have a big ass booger. Like you could just kind of see that piece, kind of like.
Well, on my end, I see your logo in the background.
Oh damn! Okay, good. I guess my shoulder's covering it. I don't know. Sorry, nobody cares about that.
I see.
Yeah.
You see? Okay, now I see the shoulder. Oh, that's funny. I never even thought about it. Now everybody's going to see it because you pointed it out.
I know. That's all I've been looking at because I've been trying to pay attention. It's not a bad story, but I'm like, fuck, should I keep covering this thing? Should I keep turning the camera?
Hilarious.
We're so hard to practice. I don't know what to do anymore.
No, it's fine. I don't think it looks like a booger. It just looks like the background is coming through.
Oh my God. It's like in what's that fucking horror movie, The Grudge, where the girl walks through the TV. Like that's what I'm doing. Like that's what my background is doing to my virtual background. Anyhow,
what were you like as a kid?
I think you asked me this, and I don't remember what my response was. But let's see. Depends on like what stage. Like when I was younger, I was pretty pretty social and like pretty smart, as I was always making my own stuff, but pretty quiet and like shy and lonely. And then pretty similar when I got to be a teenager, but then I kind of slowly came out of my shell a bit more. Like slowly started finding interests and friends with like-minded interests. It's funny. Like you go back to where you grow up, and then you have these little moments, or like just whether it's just being in a space or like touching an object or whatever, the memories just come flooding back. So I recently had a good friend of mine who he just recently passed. I posted about it on my
Oh,
Instagram, my Facebook. Yeah, my friend Brian. Always used to play Dungeons and Dragons together. He was this big punk rock guy, and for those of you that like went to Massey with me, and like you guys all kind of know the story if you were in his grade. Uh, but basically, what happened was we had this monthly thing called Coffee House, where everybody would go up and do their poetry, they'd do music, just do like any type of weird, artsy, eclectic shit. And that's where I first started doing comedy. But what they used to do was they used to let us kind of roam the halls freely and just kind of do our thing because there's an after school thing. This happened maybe like 7 or 8 on a Thursday, like a Thursday each month. So I think somebody tried to get something out of the vending machine. And like when you're trying to get something out of the vending machine, you reach down, you gotta futz around and try and dig it out, and you can't get it. So what Brian did was he saw an opportunity, like he always does, because he's a little shit disturber in the best possible way. He basically backed up, like stood up, like just started like revving up, and he fucking drop kicked this vending machine, and that soda fell out, and like most of the other pops and like snacks and a bunch of other shit were in there. So, so needless to say, Maxine, they didn't let us roam the hallways for free. There was always a teacher around coffee house.
yeah,
Brian made it so fucking infamous, and like when I
that's
went to the
funny.
funeral, and I was around just like people I hadn't seen in so long, they were telling me stories. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't even realize that he did that, or like he knew these people. And he was, I don't want to disclose any like sensitive stuff, too much sensitive stuff for him, but like in the last few months, he wasn't doing well. He was taking people in, like there's a part where he was letting them crash and like stay there and couch surf because he was truly like the embodiment of a Christian in that way. And like when you first like would talk to him, and when you got like just kind of saw him for the naked eye and just kind of saw him without any context, you'd think, oh, this big intimidating punk rock guy. He would like have this fucking shaved head and like had like all these piercings and these big ass boots, but like one of the most sensitive dudes and like one of the nerdiest dudes.
Wow.
Still fun to play Dungeons and Dragons with. Still fun to just fuck around, like watch shitty movies and drink beers and smoke weed and have the best possible time. So I felt bad that like I couldn't get to see him, or that I didn't get to see him before, because he passed right
Wow.
when the new year happened. So it was a hell of a way to start the new year. Um,
Wow.
but
Sorry about your friend.
yeah, thanks. I don't know how we got on that topic.
No,
Yeah.
you should talk about it. Yeah, you should talk it. I mean, listen, what the story that I told you when I mentioned my friend Robbie, who was saying like you're going to slaps, he passed away too. And he passed away. He was the friend that I've known the longest, like since I was in grade two. And he was in and out of my circle of friends through our whole like group, but on the guy side, right? The guys that we hung out with, he was in my group of friends and in grade school and high school and in my 20s in the raver scene, and then we reconnected right before he died. He was about almost 40 or around 40, and we started to reconnect. So he had cleaned up, like in a sense, like he had been doing lots of drugs before, and he had a crazy life. Like he was in and out of like dealings with the mafia, like criminal
Mm,
enterprises. And I didn't talk to him for a while, like at the beginning of my marriage, right? And he's an old friend. And then one day he came back um to a friend, and supposedly he's I guess he was going to a step program. So he had a thing where he apologized to everybody and he told everybody he loved them, all that kind of stuff, right?
mm,
And it was very amazing. It was amazing that he did that. And there's an amazing story where his brother told my friend, who he also grew up with, and he said that like they're like he was friends with this couple and they had a kid, and she, like, I can't remember what the reason was, but she went into a coma. And when
Oh,
she was in a coma, he wanted to take the family, the husband, the child, all that stuff, to go to church and pray. And they were like, no, 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 we're not into religion, we don't want to do any of that. And he goes, well, can I take the son? Like, I want to at least do that, but I would love it if you guys all came. And so he eventually convinced the family, including the grandparents and everybody, to go to the church. And so he prayed. And what he told his brother he prayed was, he said, I've had a lot of lives, like, like cats have 9 lives. So I should have died so many times, he said. But he says, if I have one more life left, please give it to her so she can wake up and raise her son, and I'm okay. Right. And so it gives me chills just thinking about it. But it was about 4 days later, he died, or something, like he died. He passed away in the middle of the night. My friend said he had a relapse, but he died.
wow.
And 4 days later, she woke up from her coma. So, as crazy, I got goosebumps again. As crazy as that sounds, we're talking about somebody who, he passed away. And if anybody should find themselves lucky that right before he passed away, he's told everybody he loved them. He kind of said, apologized to a lot of people for anything that he might have done, and he started to help people. He was writing on Facebook and he was like helping people. He told me he would take a homeless guy and he would go and buy him a lunch. He would do nice things for people to try to make amends, back from his life. He was always a good friend. Like, he got into the drugs and he finally got clean, but he did have a relapse. And usually they say that's what happens. People who go through that, their last time could be that last time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that happened, and I wanted to say something at the funeral. So what I did is, I didn't want to say anything to bring up and remind everybody how, okay, he was adventurous and he used to do like little stuff that, like, he would be in trouble for. But at the same time, I don't want to say that at the memorial. And when I got there, all our friends were saying funny stories of him doing stuff like that and getting into trouble. And his brother was there, and his brother was still very upset. So I didn't want to upset him. And so I said to myself, Robbie, would you help me to write something that you would be happy that I said in front of your brother? Like, I don't want to hurt him or whatever. So I said this about the story about how he's very lucky, and we should all wish for a death like his, because in a way some people just disappear, and this way he was able to come back around full circle and make the most of himself again. And he was helping other people, and he told people he was sorry and that he loved them. We should all be happy if that's how we end up going. He had an adventurous life, but he also had something bad happen to him when he was a kid. And sometimes these people, these souls, it hurts your soul. Like a kid who gets abused, it hurts their soul. It's not like they're just bad people because they get into this trouble or that trouble. This incident led to all these other different avenues, but in the end, he he came around, don't you think? And so
Yeah.
we have to think
Yeah.
about celebrating the soul of that person instead of just like all these little, like, you can laugh about all these funny things that happen, but these people, they're more than that, not just somebody who got into drugs or something and that was it. That's not who they are. That who he was a really good friend, and he loved a lot. He had a big heart.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to dismiss, certain people. Well, like, well, they're in this lifestyle, it's this and that. I mean, I'm sure you've had to experience that with your with your chosen
Mhm.
profession and whatnot. But I think that people do that because it's easy to do that because it's easier to look at life in a 2-dimensional frame as opposed to 3-dimensional and having all sorts
Yeah.
of idiosyncrasies and components attached to them. And like, just to kind of piggyback off that point, at my friend's memorial, his brother came up and he said his brother gave, I think, the best speech of the whole service because he said he just straight up said I didn't have anything planned. Brian would have wanted it this way. And what he basically said was like, he talked about his funeral. He said, yeah, if I ever have a funeral, like have a lot of music, like I want burgers flying, like I want a trapeze, I want to flip around, just very kind of Monty Python, silly, whimsical things. I was like,
So
fuck,
fun.
it's very much like Brian right there. Like I felt his presence. And I think that when you have things like that resonate, that's what people and your closest friends remember so much.
Yeah.
I know it's a very uplifting podcast, but
No, it's
it's
good. I think it's good because it's also very real, and people are real. Like people are, they have souls, you know what I mean? Like they're more than just one dimensional. Like people would probably assume, like when I got into the industry, people that I knew or people that knew of me, they were telling people I was a crackhead. They were telling people I was a drug addict. I don't do drugs. I mean, the odd time I'll smoke something, but that's about it, right?
I
And
know I'm still working on you. I'm gonna get you fucking high next time we hang out. I'm gonna get you real
but
fucked
the
up.
thing is see how they assumed? They assumed like I was doing it because I was into drugs or something. No, I'm just a free bird.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Mhm.
So yeah, like let's change gears a little bit. So what have you been doing for the past 7 months? I know you're at Fetish Con. I've been having a lot of
No,
gigs. Oh
I didn't go to Fetish
yeah.
Con.
Or wait, sorry, not Fetish Con. It was the other
I went
Vegas
to
thing.
Florida and I did fetish content with my friend Nisa, who I've
Ah,
done podcasts with.
yes. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, my chair was getting stuck in comedy clubs and breaking down every which way. I think I told you that
that's
story.
that's true.
Yeah. Literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. I'm not going to name the
Uh,
comedy club and stuff. I don't want to incriminate or nothing like that. Like everything has been good. It just we had some technical difficulties, and basically they had to lift my chair up like 9 or 10 steps. I love seeing people's faces whenever they realize how fucking heavy my chair is. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because to the naked eye, it doesn't look like that, but it's literally like iron and lead had a baby. So
Wow.
yeah, so we were like
How many
waiting for
people got had to lift it up?
the entire staff of the club. Like it was pretty intense. It's pretty fucking.
Holy crap.
And then
That
yeah,
that is that is heavier than I thought too.
yeah. I know. Heavier than your little hangers. Heavier than your boobs, my lady. I know. Couldn't help it. But yeah, it was interesting. I've definitely had a few adventures in the last
Yeah,
one. Like there was that
good.
one. I got stranded a couple times. Oh yeah, just like in Toronto and stuff. The snowstorm was fucking hell. Trying to figure that out during
Uh,
Christmas. My chair broke down again because, like, I guess a piece, like the little cord from the joystick, got severed and stuff. I don't know. This is all very interesting stuff. I know, but yeah, this is what I wanted to say. So you might find this hilarious, and I hope she does too. So the person that I'm currently seeing, she like we have an ongoing joke because I was raised by my grandparents, as you know, I was raised by older people, and just like I've always kind of been around people that are a bit older, even when I was in high school and stuff. I still have friends that are like my age and all that, but I found that just my sensibilities and who I am kind of meshes more with people that are a bit older. So
yeah.
I apparently I didn't even realize, but I she's compiled, and I thought she was bullshitting, but she showed me this. She has a list that's literally titled affectionately "Old Man Shit That Dave Says." And
That's funny. She should make a
so
little notebook, a book of it.
seriously, it's like a fucking scrapbook, just with like all the dumb
That's
fucking sayings I
awesome.
say. Like one of them was like I think I said don't put the cart before the horse. this person's a young buck when I was saying that. And she's like, you're 32. What do you mean a young buck? You were born in the 90s.
That's because you were hanging around them. Yeah, you get all those advice. I know I get it from my family too. Scott used to
Yeah.
have a list in his head, but he said that he wished that he made a list of all the funny things I said. Like he would say something about how I say ambulance. I still don't know if I'm saying it right. Sometimes,
Yeah.
and then
Ambulance?
it took me for a while to say ambulance wrong or ambulance right. I don't, how do you say so now I say
Ambulance.
ambulance, but I used to say ambulance and he's like, what? And I would say a whole bunch of other stuff that he would laugh at. And I would mix sayings, but the opposite way, or like I'd mix words in the sayings and stuff. And I can't even
I feel
remember
like I
what I
just had
used
a
to say.
brain. I feel like I just had a brain ambulance from trying to pronounce that fucking word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, my husband had a mental list of all the things I used to say too.
Yeah, do
Funny.
you think that maybe this is just because every relationship is different, but I found in the brief period that I've had mine is that if there's no sense of humor and if you guys can't tease each other affectionately, I feel like it's kind of doomed. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that take their
Yeah.
shit too seriously or their whole relationship is just based on sex or just based on one thing or
Yeah.
just based on like having a contentious way to communicate, whether it be fighting or whether it be fucking or a number of
Yeah.
different like what do you
Yeah,
think?
no, that's exactly what Scott believes too. He always teases me. And then he says, I only tease the people I love.
I could not agree more, honestly. Do you
Yeah.
have any questions? Do you have any questions for me? Because I think I want to do like a segment on Instagram again, where we just kind of take questions, or we will have a podcast now that like we have a software that kind of works, and we don't have to futz around with the other software that we were using to record these. I think we should
Yeah.
like do some, like live questions and
Yeah.
stuff. We mesh
Because
that
here's
up.
the thing. Also, like this will get saved on your thing and then you can send it to me or something.
Absolutely,
But we also
absolutely.
have to try it on my stream too. We have to stream on mine. So we
Yeah,
can so we can have mine as well as yours.
I
Next time we'll
agree.
stream on mine.
I think that's only fair. I think that's only fair. Honestly, yeah. I don't know. Like, do you have any questions for me? Because I was trying to think of a couple things, but I like to kind of let the conversation flow naturally between us.
Okay, tell me so how did you get to live with your grandparents? Like it's just your mom was young or something?
No, no, no. Quite the opposite. It's not that she was like. It's not she was long in the tooth, but like my dad was the younger one, so
Okay.
she had me when she was like 32, 33. No, my
Oh,
mom was just
okay.
on the road a lot. So because
Um,
yeah, because like her and my stepdad have their own business. They're both business people.
oh,
So they sell
cool.
different types. Like well, you can't see it behind me, but I've talked about it before on other shows. But for those, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but basically they sell different types of African art and cosmetics and jewelry.
Oh,
And
that's cool. You didn't tell me what they did, so that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. I don't like to get too in depth with like my private life that much, but like yeah,
Okay.
they were kind of always on the road. We didn't have time for pets or anything like that, so I never had like a dog or a cat growing up. It's funny
Uh-huh.
now. My sister has two cats, and my parents fucking love them. Like they're over the moon.
Oh,
Just like at them. Shout out Cheddar and MJ. I took a picture of them at Christmas, and like it's
that's
so funny
cute.
how cats have such a weird temperament
Yeah.
because MJ is like she'll like look at you like affectionately with those big eyes because she wants you to kind of toss the ball and do that sort of
Oh,
thing. But as soon as you go to pet her, she'll scurry away. And whereas like Cheddar, if Cheddar smells you a bunch and if she likes you, she'll just hop right on your lap. So
that's funny. Yeah.
we were eating dinner at Christmas, and like I kind of like I have to sit up in my chair just to kind of lean forward to the table because if I sit too close, my hands are too restricted and I can't really turn and contort. So I'm just like eating my dinner. We're just talking, having drinks, and then all of a sudden I feel like a whiff of something. I feel kind of almost like a broom mop kind of tickle the back of me, and lo and behold, it's fucking Shutter. She just popped right up behind me, and like I could tell, I could tell she just wanted food or something, or she just kind of wanted attention
Yeah.
from the family. And I don't know. I kind of snuck some food when they weren't looking because I'm supposed to do that.
That's funny.
But yeah,
Okay,
so
so I only have uh like 15 minutes. I have to do my live member show. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
have to do that in 50. I got a good 10 more minutes left.
That's
But
honestly
this
no
is so
problem.
fun.
Like I feel like this is just kind of for us to kind of find our sea legs again, so that we can just kind of
Exactly.
figure it out. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but just to kind of finish that story, yeah, they weren't home a lot, so I was just with my like
Yeah.
when
Well,
I
then
stayed
that's
with
great.
them.
And I like your grandparents. It sounds like you had a really good grandparents.
Yeah, yeah, I got super lucky. I really did in
Yeah,
hindsight.
good for
You know,
you.
and plus, like we'd always watch Golden Girls or like Judge Judy or something or like all the fucking daytime shitty TV shows.
Yeah, so you get to watch old people programs. That's why you get
Every
the
time I
rest.
come to school, I'd open the door. It's like, yeah, Anna, you ain't paid shit in 6 months. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh, it's divorce court today. And I walk in, like, you hear Judge Mathis be like, Miss, have you lost your damn mind? Just a version of that. And then like I would just instantly know from the garage what I was fucking walking into. And then her and my other relatives discussing it loudly.
That's hilarious. Oh
Yeah.
my God. You know what show that the funniest thing is my husband watches 90 Day Fiance and
That's the best.
first of all I thought it would be it's just so funny that he got into the drama of it, right? The soap opera of it. And then he got me into it, and now we watch it, and it's hilarious, the drama of it. 90 Day Fiance.
That's actually sorry to cut you off, but that's like an interesting topic actually, because especially with those type of shows, do you think it's a common misconception that dudes don't like it's not that dudes don't like drama the same way that women do, because like sports are basically a version of like a soap opera, and other
Yeah.
types of things that you do. It's like people coming together and there's conflicts and stuff. Do you think that's a misconception? Because like there's
Yeah.
certain shows I'll watch with my lady and stuff, but like not really the 90 Day Fiance stuff. But do
Yeah.
you think do you think it's a misconception? You think that like guys, maybe we don't like the exact same
Yeah.
shows that we like, but we like a version of that. If there's some ridiculous,
Yeah. No, for sure. I was shocked that he would even fall for watching any of it or get into a show like that. Because it's a reality show. I was like, but the thing is what he likes is he finds people interesting. So, and then but the drama of and then it has all the spin-off shows, and they become really fun. Some of them are really funny, and some of them you're just like, oh, she's only in it for the money. She did it. And then they have the after show, and it's like all this, it's just so much funny drama. And at the beginning, I didn't think he would get into a show like that, or I wasn't even interested in it first, so I didn't drag him into it. I thought he would watch something different. Like he also watches MMA and sports stuff, so. And then he's watching the 90 Day Fiance, and I thought it was the funniest thing that he even got into it. And then of course I got into it because it's easy to get into drama with your
and
relationship.
it's perplexing sometimes to realize the lack of self-awareness of some certain. It's either lack of self-awareness or desperation, or like not desperation. I wouldn't say that. I just think people are kind of like, you can tell the ones who have like settled. You know what I'm saying? Like the ones who are like, this is the best I'm gonna do, so let's just fucking lay all the cards on the table, which I kind of respect on some level.
Yeah. What you mean for the show, the couples in the show?
Yeah, just like the couples in
Yeah.
the show and stuff. Like if they're just such an odd couple, of like on paper they don't make sense, but to me those are the most fascinating people to watch.
Yeah.
Because even if like some of them, because if we're basing it just on looks, if some of them are just somewhat mildly attractive, but like they have this weird quirk about them, you're like, oh, there's something here that's kind of connecting these two people together. Either they're bonding on their quirks, or because of like past trials and tribulations, or whatever the fuck it is. Like that type of shit's fascinating, because it's like these two things should normally not go together. The incongruity, I think, is interesting. I'm rambling. Anyways.
Funny. No, that's true. That's interesting. That's funny. It's true.
Yeah. So
but
yeah,
it's the soap opera of it all to me.
Yeah. So I don't want to take up too, because I still have stuff to do today as well. I have a bit of a busy weekend ahead. So yeah, like I'm trying to think what else there is that we could talk about. Like, do you have any like closing statements, or is there anything you want to plug, or like besides your OnlyFans and yourself?
So yeah, I mean, honestly, like if they follow my Instagram, that would be great. And I mean, I can't totally plug my VIP sites because they always keep flagging me for like doing
Right.
that. And so, but I do have one. You can just search for Maxine X for all that info. It literally is like so searchable. I tell people I'm all over. Just search my name in Google. And
Exactly.
but otherwise my Instagram is because the other one got deleted, so it's now official Maxine X is my Instagram.
Gotcha. You guys know where to find me, Dave Squeaky Wheelz on all platforms. My screen name is down there, so just YouTube, Google that, whatever fucking search engine you use, do that. I will be posting a bit more on my stories. Hopefully, we'll be doing more social media stuff because I'm very bad at it, so I need to kind of work on that. It's a new year, it's a new me. There's a little dog there. New year, it's a new me. So Maxie and I are hopefully going to bring you some more content, some more fun stuff. Yeah,
Oh
if
yeah,
you,
my YouTube.
yeah,
I forgot
you
to. I have the YouTube. I'm gonna have to post something soon because I had my friend Adara. It's going to be an interesting podcast that I did with my friend Adara. She's a dominatrix, but the thing is it's going to be too rated R to put on YouTube because we do talk a lot about sex in it and fetish. So I said, okay, well, I might have to edit it for YouTube and then put the rest on like my OnlyFans or something because literally we're saying stuff. I'm like, oh, YouTube's not gonna like all this sex
no,
talk stuff,
no.
so we'll have to edit it a bit. But it'll be on my Diary of Maxine X podcast YouTube channel.
Okay, terrific. You heard it here first, folks. Yeah, well, yeah, this has been, I guess, a very informal episode of X Marks the Thought. 7 months have gone by. We will try to make sure 7 months do not go by again before we do this
Yeah.
again. I'll be doing this. I'm talking to some other comedians who want to be on my other show, the Squeaky Unclean podcast. So I'll be doing that. We'll be doing this and more stuff coming at you. So I really hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your February. Enjoy all that good stuff. I really don't know how to end a podcast. I'm just realizing that as I'm trying to sign the fuck off with it. I'm bad at this. All those years of radio training really fucking worked. So, anyways, thank you so much for again tuning into X Marks the Thought. Yeah, tell all your friends. Even if tell people you hate. Fuck it, we still need reviews. You know, there's a thing that hate. What are you gonna do? So yeah, Maxine, we're gonna end the live stream, but I will. We can talk in just 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. And we're done.